Hey friend, I'm Leah Simon. I'm the founder of the Box Co and the creator of the Comeback Box. And I built the box in part this past year to help us all process what was happening. And the past year might have felt a little heavy. So I have brought on a good friend of mine, Chris Williams, to help us all keep it light as we're making our comebacks. And you know Chris as Crazy Eyes Killa from Curb Your Enthusiasm. You loved him in Silicon Valley and Dodgeball and his current series Upload. And he's kept me laughing this whole year, and he's going to share all his tips and tricks for how he keeps it light. So if you want to learn how to tell a joke like a pro and learn more about this amazing, talented man, join me today. He's also an acting coach, and one lucky listener is going to win a session with him. So it's super exciting. And Chris is here. Hey, Chris. Trying to bring you up. Is that working? Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm trying to get my thing right. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. Just did some gardening, which
Amazing. You
always
look
makes me.
great. I love your shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. Trying to make sure it's. Oh, there you go. That's perfect. Yeah. So I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Beautiful day again here in California, and I'm headed to my first market next week. So
Very
just trying to
nice.
get all the things made for that. But it's great, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Of
Um,
course. I was lucky enough to be one of the first test people for the box. So that's
test
very
people.
well, one of the prototypes. I got to see a prototype and
Yes.
experience the prototype on a daily basis. So it was really, really great. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that, and I appreciate that so much. You know, everyone, when I first developed the comeback box, I did a research round, and Chris was generous enough to be a part of that and give me feedback before I revised it all. Um, so I think, just love to start with, your background. And you've been making so much content, both on the screen and just for us all with social media. And this past year have really just made me personally laugh. And I'm just wondering, how you get inspired each day and how you keep it light, even through this kind of challenging time.
It is a very challenging time for everybody and the world right now. Yeah, it's not as easy as you think keeping things light, but you have to work at it, really. A lot of it is taking every day with a new, fresh perspective. So when you wake up, even though something is going, you're dreading something that day, you just have to take every day. First of all, thank yourself for waking up. With all the crazy
Right.
stuff that's been going on in the past year, with so many people, dying and being sick, and when
Right.
you wake up, at least thank yourself for at least being alive and being healthy and being able to do whatever you want during the day.
Yeah.
So, and another thing that I try to do is, if you look at the perspective of how is your feeling right now going to affect you later on. So that being said, that if something is frustrating you in the moment, in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, how much is that going to really affect you in 5 months? If you spill something all over the place, and I mean, I get really frustrated, but then I go, okay, you know what? It happened. It's going to happen. No one is perfect. You can't live a perfect life. Things are going to spill. Things are going to be messy. You just have to go, is this really worth expending the energy, being upset, or, being, because everyone is so on edge right now with feelings and not knowing and uncertain. A lot of it is uncertainty. What's gonna happen next? When
Yeah.
can I go outside? So my quarantine time back in, starting in March of last year through the summer was a really an interesting time for me because I felt like I hate to say it, but I kind of enjoyed being in quarantine. I
I
mean,
know. I remember us talking during that time, and you were thriving. You were like living your best life.
I totally was. I mean, first of all, it made me go. Well, Upload came out. My show on Amazon Prime that came out, and I was watching the show, and it came out in May. I was watching the show, and I'm like, ooh, you got a little stomach on there, even though that's for the character. I like to say. I was like, ooh, no, you need to do something about that. So I made it my mission when I was in quarantine to like work out every day and to, have my Apple Watch. So closing my
By the
rings every
way,
day was a big thing.
Stacy says
And
you are looking so
making
handsome. Oh,
yeah, sorry about that. Closing my rings every day and making sure that I was doing something positive for myself every day. So I started cooking a lot more. I was doing like the HelloFresh boxes and stuff like that. And I was cooking and I was working out and I was careful with
love
the
it.
food that I ordered in. And then I started this streak that's been going on for over a year now of not only closing my rings, but 10,000 steps and 5 miles a day, regardless of what's going on. So even if I'm flying or doing something, or as you know, being in quarantine when I was working on Upload in Vancouver. Yes,
That was amazing. Can we talk about that for a minute?
of course. So I was shooting up in Vancouver in January. I had to fly up in January. And as I said, I've been on the streak of 10,000 steps, 5 miles every day. And when I go to Vancouver, I have to be in the hotel room and I cannot leave for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
and you told me like you couldn't go outside. You
I
couldn't take
could
a walk
not,
around the block.
I could not leave my hotel room. So I had like it's not a suite, but it was like a living room, kitchen, bedroom. And I was freaking out because I was like, well, now I'm on the streak. That's another thing is giving yourself streaks
Right.
that you don't want to break, that will motivate you more and more and more. And I work well that way when I'm under the gun or I'm going to lose something that I've worked so hard for.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do in the hotel room. So I brought a jump rope and I'm like, is that going to be enough? Because I have to get my 10,000 steps in. And I literally started walking in circles in my hotel room. And it was like a 35 step path that I got. And I was like walking and walking and walking. And I managed to do it. And like the second Tuesday I was there, I did 9 miles and like 17,000 steps in my hotel room, which is bananas. And then I started walking around just, even when my watch was off because I had to charge, I found myself walking. Like, why are you walking? You don't need to walk right now. So, but I kind of learned that during my quarantine last year of taking care of myself that way. And, now that I have the streak is over 400 days now. And I'm like, now, mind you, if I had not done all these steps with the amount of food that I've eaten from like September to now, I would be huge. But I've learned to maintain, and that was a really positive thing for me because I was focused and I was determined, and I got to spend all my even in the limited. It was kind of like being in a jail, in a really nice jail. But I thrived in that kind of situation, so it was great for me.
Well, I mean, I loved watching it every day. I feel like you should turn it into like a little documentary or something. It was fascinating. And I think that it was so humanizing because we were all sort of wandering around our own room in a way. And
Right.
just to watch someone else in that situation, I thought it was so inspirational, because here's someone you can tune into who's in the exact kind of same situation as you, and he's getting up and he's making the most of it, and you were making jokes.
And
You
not
had,
only physical stuff, but crossword puzzles. I was doing the
yes,
crossword puzzle every day, jigsaw puzzles. For me, jigsaw puzzles are such a great mental vacation, so to speak, because I get super focused, and then it relaxes me. And so for the past year, I've been really focusing on jigsaw puzzles, and that makes me happy. And it's, if you haven't done a jigsaw puzzle in a long time, it also makes you feel like a kid again.
right.
So like when you used to put stuff together, and it gives you a great sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
Because I got one of these puzzles up there. My friend sent me a puzzles. I got a couple different puzzles, and I got this one teacup puzzle that I documented all through my quarantine. But it was the most difficult thing, 1,000-piece puzzle that I ever had. And I was like, oh, my friend sent it to me as a joke, because there's no way these puzzles aren't, there's pieces missing. I know, because I have friends that would do that kind of stuff. But no, and for hours, and I was slaving away and doing it bit by bit. And then I was under the gun because I was leaving in like a couple days. So I'm like, well, now I just have to finish the thing. And I got it done. And it was such a great, euphoric, feeling to be like, yes, I did it. And I was like, last puzzle piece, and it was great. So,
Well, I think there's something really interesting in that, because, not to get like too deep, but life is sort of a puzzle that we're constantly trying to put the right pieces together. And when you were talking about, one of the things that's so challenging this year is the uncertainty. And
mm-hmm.
so now we're trying to put together a puzzle where the pieces keep changing and it keeps, moving. And so I think it's maybe really interesting that if you can focus on a puzzle that you can solve, it sort of gives your mind a break from this other bigger puzzle you're constantly trying to put
Yes.
together. And that's one of the things, like, when you talk about a streak, I think a really important thing is, when you're trying to start a streak, to make the steps really small and
Mm-hmm.
achievable.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you don't start with 10,000 steps a day. Maybe you start with 2,000, but by accomplishing it, it gives you that sense of accomplishment. It makes you want to keep going.
Yes.
So
And
just
gives you
like,
patience as well. I mean, you have to be patient, knowing that all the pieces are there, and you can take one piece and try to put it everywhere, but it's not going to fit. But put the piece aside, and then work on something else.
right.
That's what you would do with life, or any project that you're doing. Put it aside and work on something else, because it will come together eventually. You just have to try different pieces, and they're not always going to work. And then you try that and you put it away, or separate them. As you said, make smaller blocks for yourself. Put all the blue pieces over here. Put all the corner pieces over here. So when you're working in life with a project, or just being alive, and something is such a huge task, break it up into small little pieces where you can control your
Right.
the aspect of it.
I also find, again, sort of an analogy, if there's a piece that I can't seem to make fit, or that I can't figure out, if I take my focus off of it, even like with work, some of my best ideas are when I stop working and I take the weekend off and I go for a drive. And suddenly the answer comes to me. So I feel
That's
like
the
it's
same thing
this,
with
yeah,
crossword puzzles. The same way. It's like you're trying to think of, like, what's that word? What's the word? And then you let it go. And also giving you perspective as well, because
right.
if you're doing a crossword puzzle, for instance, and you're in it, and you're so in it, and then you give yourself a little break and you go away from it, and sometimes just not even looking at what the clue is, but just looking at what the word could be.
Mm-hmm.
So trying different strategies on which it can apply to your life and tasks and projects. And sometimes you have to take a step back and look at the complete picture, or you have to get really, in deep in it, but you got to give yourself that allowance to get out of it and get perspective on it. Like just being in quarantine,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that we're going through. How are you taking care of yourself? Even though there's a global thing going on, how are you taking care of yourself and taking care of your loved ones as much as you can? Even though you may not be able to see them, checking in with friends emotionally is a big thing too.
Right.
Making sure that, you're taken care of, but, giving a call to a friend or can help you because you're actually, sharing your experiences and sharing yourself and taking care of other people. So,
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw that, I built the comeback box to help everyone take care of themselves. And then
yes,
I launched the company, and about 3 months in, realized I had completely stopped taking care of myself.
right.
So I'm doing my own box right now. And the card that I just got to was about reaching out to someone that you haven't spoken to in a while. And, I talk to a lot of people doing what I do. And one thing I hear is people are disappointed, right? They haven't heard from people. And what I've found when I reach out to people, people are going through things you had no idea. You had
Exactly.
no idea what was going on with them. It's not something they're sharing on Instagram. And so just a little PSA to be super gentle on people right now and reach out, even if you might have to step over something.
Right.
Because we all don't know what we've been going through.
And everything is so sensitive right now.
Yeah.
In the past year, there's been so many major things between elections and protests and all that kind of stuff. There've been
Right.
so many people are on edge. People are on edge, but the more that you can breathe, meditate, relax, and keep your own focus. Matter of fact, I was looking at reviewing the box, the initial cards that you got in the box of things that I had written down on the back of the cards, because you
Yeah.
get each card had something or a task or something to take care of yourself. And I was looking at some of the ones that I had done before, and I did it. When did I do? I did it last August, I believe. I think it was August.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, I was like, oh, okay, well, I did do this. Like goals that I had or goals that I was starting. I'm like,
Right.
what would you like to accomplish in the next 6 months? And I was like, oh, wait a second, I did do that. And oh, look
Right.
at this, I did do this. Even if it wasn't, even after I had completed the box, it was still working with me in terms of maybe in my subconscious that I was like, okay, take care of yourself every day and work slowly and diligently, and you'll eventually get to where you want to get.
Well,
So
I'm so glad to hear that. And I think what's one of the things as I do, the box now, it becomes a memory box. It becomes like a time capsule almost of this certain, moment in your life.
yeah,
And so it's so great to go back, which is why I journal every day, because I think writing things down and being able to go back and review them, it is so rewarding.
and it's cathartic too.
Yeah.
Like whenever you're going through something, if you write it down and I don't know what it is about. I like to draw or write longhand, because there's something about the transference of your emotions through the motions of your hand. You can type things out as well, and that works for you. That works for you. But I feel like it's so much more cathartic if you actually write things down and see it. And you can even throw it away if it's something you just need to get out. Throw it away, keep it. I don't journal as much, like journal every day,
Mm-hmm.
but I try to give myself a little bit of comfort every day with, if I'm writing something or, to help myself along on,
Yeah.
on any kind of journey that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just did the day in the box where I write myself a letter
Hmm.
of forgiveness and then burn it.
Exactly.
And, that's something that I've done before that I find super cathartic. Writing something down, letting it exist, and then burning it and letting it go.
Yeah. Just let it go.
Yeah.
You have to let it go. And also,
So,
so
yeah.
also thinking about during my quarantine time, or during the pandemic, gardening really helps me. I
Me too.
garden a lot. I like to grow things, and now my garden is fecund right now. It's teeming with blooms, and uh,
Yes, everyone, I was lucky enough to just get to see this. This garden is amazing.
and I just planted that earlier today. That big one.
Oh yeah, I see you moved the planter.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it looks great.
So I just planted a whole variety of stuff in there, and it also gives you. And I put a book on in my ear, a self-help book in my ear, and that also helps as well to not escape what you're doing, but
Right.
give you perspective on what your self responsibility. What are you
Yeah.
responsible? How do you react to people, and um, how I find it gives me a sense of self, really. When I'm growing things, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment and patience. As I said, patience is a big thing.
Right.
To You have to wait, and you have to nurture it and grow it, and then eventually you'll get the strawberries, you'll get the flowers, you'll get the fruits.
Right.
So yeah, so it's been an interesting year.
Yeah, I love gardening as well. And I call it like plant therapy
Mm.
almost. It makes me feel so much better. My grandmother, my mother, they were gardeners. Luckily, they taught me. Um, when I'm doing it, what I think a lot about is, if a plant isn't doing well, there's only a couple factors. Like you've got to find the right place for it. It has to have enough room to grow. How much light is it getting, and how much
Hmm.
water is it getting?
Exactly.
And so one thing I think it's taught me is just how do I think about those things in my own life? Am I giving myself enough space? Am I getting too much light or not enough? Am I giving myself too much water or not enough? So,
And so I have over 30 30 orchids,
yeah,
and I am good with certain orchids, but I have orchids that I don't know, because there's so many different types of orchids. I don't know, one plant, phalaenopsis is a certain way to do it, and those are easier. But these other ones, it's hit or miss. So, but don't stop trying. Don't stop. That's the thing. It's like you're gonna have failures. You're gonna have things that don't work. But you can, if you have patience and keep working at it, you'll be able to figure it out, or understand why it didn't work in the first place. That's, as I said, it's universal. That's with anything. It's just adjusting to your the plant that you are. What works for you. So if jumping rope is not for you, if you don't want to do that, then do some yoga or do something
sure.
else that will work for you.
Yeah, I think we've all had to try a lot of new things this past year because many of our go-tos weren't available.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's wonderful that we've done that. And I also think it's an opportunity to just check. Oh, the dryer's gone off. To just check in and make sure that those things aren't causing more stress. Like you can
Right.
try something new. Oh, your friend does this and you want to give it a shot, and give yourself the option to say, okay, no, that doesn't actually work for me.
Right.
Tried it.
As long as you tried it, at least tried it, and then you can make the assessment, because half the time you don't know something until you don't know if you like it or not like it until you try it, and you'll never know if you like it if you don't try it.
Sure.
So, as I said, even with certain plants, I've never grown primrose before, and I'm like, well, I got the discount primrose plant at the thing. I'm like, let me see if I can I can keep it alive and
Yeah.
keep it going. So yeah.
One conversation, if everyone doesn't know, Chris is also an amazing magician.
Yes. Oh,
And he has done magic tricks and magic shows for me before. At my birthday party, he actually did this very elaborate show that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And he has made a very valiant attempt to teach me, but I am not the best magician. But I remember having a conversation when you were teaching me a magic trick where you told me about the magician's choice.
Right.
And I thought it was such an interesting concept for magic, but also for life. And I would love to talk a little bit about the magician's choice.
Well, interesting. That's interesting. You brought the magician's choice. Well, a magician's choice is giving a free choice to someone, but it's not a really free choice. It's you're in control of what their choice is going to be. So there is some aspect of um, thinking that it's to the audience, thinking that it's their free choice, but is it really their free choice, or is it
Right.
something that, even though they may be doing everything, could I be influencing them to do what I want them to do?
Right, because you did a trick for me, and then you taught me how to do it, and I was like, "But how?" Because I made all those choices, and you're like, "But wait, Leia, did you really make?" Because you were making me feel like I had a choice,
Right.
but I wasn't really choosing.
Right. Well, I was choosing more for you. Yes. So, I mean, it's an interesting concept because it's really, and actually that can, and it, for an audience member, uh, you really enjoy the fact of the magician's choice because it makes the magic. That's what the magic is all about, is having you fooled or think that you're making the choice on your own, but you may not be. So um, it gives you, as the magician, it gives me a sense of being in control of my tools, really being in
Yeah.
control of my tools. Now you can translate into everyday life of being in control of what you bring to the table, whether you're going to a meeting, whether you're going to an audition, whether you're going to something. What tools do you have to make them think that they chose you? For instance, I learned a great thing for auditions that I used to do. When you walk into a room, if you pause in the door frame, it makes a picture of you
Yeah.
that they can you pause and then you walk in. It actually frames you a little bit more, so they're like, oh, I can see him either on the TV or on the set and the other, or but I can see him in a picture more than just the individual. So
Right.
it's small nuances that you can do that way. There was another thing that Dan Buckatinsky and this other woman, Dan actually told me about it. He's a Emmy-winning actor, and what he used to do in auditions was go in and wear something, whether it's germane to the character or just something fun and funky. So they would comment on it,
Uh-huh.
and you're engaging them in a conversation. Like, for instance, if you, uh, um, her name is Paula Corologos. I forgot her name. Anyway, she would, like, if it's a frantic actress, in or a frantic person in the role, she used to come in like, oh, I'm so sorry, this, that, and the other. It's like, how are you guys doing? Like, fine. Everyone always says fine. How are you? Let me just tell you what has happened. I was trying to get my car, and I locked the keys in the car, and I was trying to get this, giving them a subliminal effect of like, oh, she's just like this character,
Right. Right. Right.
right? But you're using the magician's choice to make them think that they're going, oh, well, that's the person right there, like, because even though you may not be that person, that feeds into uh, everyone's subconscious. So yeah, that's something that magicians use a lot, and yeah, it's
And
a good thing.
it was just, I know it was about magic, but it was very philosophical to me, and it started making me think in my own life, where am I perceiving that I'm making the choice when
Mm,
I'm actually not? You
Right.
know, I'm
Yeah.
choosing something because I believe that there are two things in front of me and I have to choose one.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I need to sort of pull the rabbit out of the hat, or like take the curtain away and say, wait a minute.
Exactly. Did I really want that?
Well, those aren't even the only two options.
Right.
Why do
Oh,
I
that's
think I
true.
have to choose one of those?
Right. And that can go in terms of relationships as well, with
Sure.
people, not only romantic relationships, but family and friend relationships too, where if someone is treating you a certain way, or people will give you signs and you're going, why do I like being friends with that person, or why do I, why, what is about this person that I like? And especially in a political climate that we're in too, a lot of people have been like struggling with friends that they thought were friends that didn't realize they thought a certain way, or had different viewpoints. So you got to take a step back and go, wait a second, let me look at why I'm drawn to this person, or why I'm not drawn to this person, or uh, what about this individual can help me, or is hurting me. So
Yeah, well, after our kind of chat last night, Chris was dropping some wisdom on me last night. I posted this morning about all the doors. It's like a
hmm,
really unique time because we're reopening all these doors in our lives, and it's exciting. But I was also asking everyone if they're thinking about, are there some doors that should remain closed?
yeah, yeah.
And that could be relationships, that could be ways you spent your time.
Hmm. Things that
But
no longer work for you. Maybe they worked for you in the
right,
past, and they don't, and you think they work for you still, or you want them to work for you still, but it's just not working. It's like a VCR that is,
right,
it was great 15 years ago, but the VCR is like, why isn't this, the tape is not, and you get upset about, why is this tape not working? It's like, no, it's a VCR.
right,
They don't make VCRs, so
right.
um, really being aware of your relationship to one of, and taking a look at and how you feel about it, because as I said, people will show you who they are pretty early on. You really get a sense of, and you have to pay attention to what people are saying to you and doing to you, and if something takes pause, and you're like, wait a second, did that really happen? Or, and then be a little more sensitive about what your view on that relationship is.
Yeah, and I read this, I think part of it is also they can be showing you, but are you seeing it? Are
Right.
you being open to what's really there? And I read this morning, if you look at people through rose-colored glasses, the
Hmm.
red flags will just look like flags.
Well, that's true. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, I like that. I like that. It's exactly right. That is, I like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You have to take the glasses off and go, wait a second, that's a red flag. What? Why didn't I see that red? Why did I have that red flag in there? That's an,
And
yeah.
and forgive yourself if you go deep and then look back and are like, wait, the signs were all there. Why didn't I see them?
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
sometimes you only see things when you're ready to. So,
Or only when you want to see things, and you have blinders on, and you don't want to see certain things about people, even about yourself. That's a big thing, and the box helped me. It helped me. It makes you evaluate how you're feeling in the moment, and like right then and there, you have to give yourself a check-in of saying, wait a second, how do I feel about that? Because we just go out through our lives working, or doing this, that, and the other, and going to our job, or being on Zoom for your job or whatever. And I'm like, do I really enjoy this job? Do I really enjoy, what is it about besides the money, or what is it that
sure.
I really want to do? So it really made me evaluate a lot of things. And as I said, it really helped me focus on things that I wanted to do, um, mentally and emotionally and physically. I started the 10,000 steps, 5 miles in August. I had,
Oh, during the box.
during the box, because my goal was to close my rings every day. then I wanted to take it to another level and give myself something, and feeling proud of, if it's 10:30 at night, that I would, in front of the TV, and I'm watching the basketball game, and I've got 3 miles to do. I'm like, oh, well, I have no choice. I have to get up, get my dog, and walk for an hour. And I feel so much better after I've completed my task that I've made for myself, in a sense of accomplishment. Really edify stuff. And now that I have the streak, now I'm like, I gotta walk. I just gotta
Oh,
get.
I remember we went to dinner, and after dinner,
we walked. Yeah.
you were like, I'd love to go get a drink, but I still need X amount of steps. So can we just walk around for
So
a little bit?
we did. We walked up the downtown. We walked up the bridge.
Yeah.
It was a nice little walk. It was
And it
nice.
was great.
Yeah. But you would not normally do that unless you were someone who's psycho and and trying to get his steps in. But it really gave me a sense of setting a goal for myself and being consistent with that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've really that's one of the things the box gave me, is it gave me that allowance to make something that was totally beneficial to me. Me walking 10,000 steps and 5 miles doesn't do anything for anybody else but just for me. And it gives me such a feeling of accomplishment, and it's also good for you. It's good for your health. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you had that experience. And, a lot of people who've done the box have since done it again. And so no pressure, but you could do it again, because you'll be in a totally different place. You'll make different goals. And then as you go through it, how then you have all those frameworks
exactly
to get towards those goals. So
and not have the prototype one. So I need to do the real one now.
I'm going to get you the real one.
The stepped up version. And also I've had friends that have done the box as well and have really gotten benefits out of it. And you can do it with another person. You can do it with a significant other. You can do it with a friend. You don't have to do all the steps with someone else, but every now and then it's nice to share what the things that you're going through, and like, this is a fun thing. Like, what do you think about, not what's your greatest fear, but, tell me a childhood experience that, changed you, or even one of the things that I loved about the first incantation of the box was the cotton in the bottom of just feeling. Just one of the steps was put your hand in the box and just feel the cotton and feel what it feels like and how soft it is. And it gave me much more appreciation for, when I look at when I grow my flowers, or when I smell them, I try to embrace them as much as possible, because things are fleeting. Things do not stay around forever. And I've even had one of my best friends passed away a couple months ago, and really trying to embrace what is going on right now, not in the past, not in the future, but what is going on right now, and how are you feeling right now, and dealing with how you're feeling right now, and really checking in with yourself as much as possible to know that life is life. And even, with my friend passing and grieving, and I'm still grieving about it, but, how am I feeling about the person, and writing about my friend, and talking about him. And that was also, so the box, as I said, feeling something, it really kept me in the moment, in the exact, how are you feeling right now? And that was really, really helpful. That was helpful as well. So there's a lot of elements that I recommend the box. Mobility Maker, she just popped on there. She said she won 2 boxes, and she's so excited about it. And I've had other friends that have really been into it too. And it's such an amazing idea and concept. And when you told me about it, over a year ago, you told me about it a while ago, and I was like, wow, and you've worked by yourself diligently. I mean, you're a one-woman wrecking crew the fact that you got, I was like, that is a lot. The first thing I said was like, that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work. And you're like, I have prototypes, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you were like a pit bull that, would not let go. I want to do it until, and you did it. And it's phenomenal. So you need to hear praise from others just on the work that you've done to get it to this point. And it takes step by step by step. How does this design look? How does this logo look? And even if you're not sure on what the logo is, finding other people that you respect their vision, or you respect their look. So when you're making a banner or you're making something and you're not sure, but you have an idea what you like, listening to people that you respect to get their opinion on it. And you may not agree with it, but at least you're getting another perspective.
Yeah.
And it also can edify your choice. Like, no, this is, and it makes you argue with your own choices. Sure. Because if I say, well, why would you do that? You're like, well, I want it this way and this way and this way. I'm like, okay. So you dig your heels in even more of like, no, this is what I want. And the more even opposition or praise on it of that's perfect can dig you even more and make you feel solid. Because you're never going to feel, no matter what it is, and anything, 100%. You're never going to feel 100%. You're going to be 99, 85%, but you're like, but I got to make the decision now because it's due so-and-so, 85. Let me just do it. 85%. It's good enough, But it's better than not making a choice at all.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we learn in the doing, right? Mm-hmm. There's only so much thinking and about it. You're never going to make, everything is a strategic bet. Right. And I once heard that if you can't make a decision, flip a coin. And it's not about where the coin lands. It's that when the coin is in the air, it becomes very clear where you want it to land.
Right.
That I was thinking about that when you're telling me, if you start talking to other people, what do you fight for?
Right.
I quickly just wanted to say, I'm so sorry, just to go back a little bit about your friend.
It's life.
And there's tons of people in the comments that are like supporting you. And I just wanted to make sure that you saw that.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
And,
but one of the perspectives that I got on it, he was 53. He was one of my best friends from my roommate from college and even out here. And suddenly just passed away, literally passed away, and no one knew what happened. And his heart gave out. But it also gives you a sense of, look, if you have always dreamed of doing a project or going somewhere or doing something or trying something, you better do it now while you wake up and can still. I often have this weird thing about, if I'm going to go on my steps and get my steps, I'm like, what if one day you couldn't do 10,000 steps because maybe something happened to you that, you no longer can walk? Like, embrace the fact that, I can walk, right? Like, embrace what's going on today, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
When you can start thinking about it, not I have to do, but I get to do.
Yes.
I don't have to go to spin class.
Right.
I get to. I have the money to pay $35 for Soul Cycle. I have the body that can withstand it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that this past year, and all of us facing our own mortality in a way that maybe we haven't before, has given people a lot of clarity about, am I doing what I really want to do? Am I with the person that's really,
That really showed a lot of people who are with someone else, if their relationship was really what they thought it was, or was it the fact that you were both at work and you would come home and you could really live with each other for 5 hours, but when you're living 24 hours together, that's a whole other ball game.
Well, there are a lot less distractions, I think, for all of us in general, and you really had to get present. And as I've started
kind of going back into the world, kind of coming back to my previous life in a way and a new life, I think one thing we all need to recognize is how much we've changed this past year. And it was reminding me of when I moved to France. And at the very beginning, when I moved there, I was in university and they gathered us all and they talked about culture shock and what it was going to be like, you know, as an American now living in France. And then after a year, before we went back to America, they had another, you know, session with us. And they talked about the culture shock we were now going to experience going back to America. Your wheels turning a little bit. You froze, I think. Are you still there? It's a beautiful shot of you. Everybody in the chat, is Chris frozen for you, or is it just me? Okay, Chris is now gone. Okay, he'll probably come back on. While he's gone, if anyone has a question for Chris, you know, I'd love to ask him for you if you want while we're on here. So if you want to put any, there's a little question icon. You can hit the question icon and it'll send us to it that way, or you can put it in the chat. And thanks again to everyone who's, you know, joined. It's so great to have you all here. And while he's gone, I'll take another opportunity. Chris is an acting coach, and he's going to give away a session to one listener. So if you are interested in having a session with Chris, just go put me in the chat, and that will enter you, and we're going to pick one person to win the session. But if you would like a session with Chris, put me in the chat. You're back.
That was weird. Nothing happened. And yet, living in the moment. See, that's what the moment happens. That's what happens, you know, living in the moment.
And rolling with it.
And rolling with it. That's all you can do. Things happen. Things happen.
So real quick, the end of that story was they gathered us before we went back to America and basically talked about the culture shock we were now going to experience, and that it was probably going to be more difficult because it was going to be in our own country. There were things that we had forgotten.
Why is it?
And they wanted us to be prepared what we were going to feel when we went back to America. And I thought about that this past week when I was sort of re-entering back into some things that I used to do, and yet I'm such a different person.
I know. One thing people don't realize is that being uncomfortable promotes growth.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can grow, is by, if you stay in your own little thing and keep doing the same things, you're never going to expand or grow or go beyond what you would normally have done, felt, seen. So always try to challenge yourself and try new things. I am always constantly trying anything that I can, you know, trying everything, you know, whether it's new plants or a new hobby or, you know, a new magic trick that I'm working on.
Right.
I'm always trying to expand, because you never, first of all, you never know when you're going to be able to use it. And also it makes yourself bigger. Where is the,
sorry, you cut out for a minute. It makes what bigger?
Making yourself bigger beyond who you normally would be if you had just stayed. the more uncomfort you can have in a positive direction, not uncomfortable in a negative direction, but trying things, things that you may be scared of, things that may make you nervous, that you say, well, I can't do that. Well, you don't know until you try. So constantly trying to improve yourself by expanding yourself, by trying things and growing. And we've all grown a lot this year. And we're still growing. I mean, there's a lot of, and I think people are so excited to be back out, but it's interesting. I think that people have also learned to appreciate the people who you're close to as well. Because, during pandemic, I would never had, not never have had, but rarely have my whole family on a Zoom, or all friends from college or friends from high school. I had my high school reunion on Zoom. Like, this was early on but I would never have done that unless we were in this situation. So, right. And it also gives you a sense of fostering relationships that work for you, and staying in touch with people that you would have not normally have stayed in touch with. So it's spun all these different things into life. And I think we're, I don't want to say we're better for it. I think it was just challenging for us. And I think that challenge is something that you need to take on head first,
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Kentucky and I've moved around a lot. And now I'm living in Los Angeles. And I thought it was really interesting. I've always kept in touch with a lot of old friends, but we were never going on Zooms and doing happy hour, video calls before
Right.
this. And I thought it was really interesting to watch who I spent time with this past year.
Right.
I went to a summer camp while growing up. We started, those of us who'd been counselors, we started doing weekly happy hours and trivia nights. My friends that I grew up with, we started doing them again. And I thought it was interesting, like, who brought me comfort this past year?
Mm. And did you bring yourself comfort too? That's another thing. Bringing yourself, not only using other people for comfort, but are you comforting yourself? Are you taking care of yourself, your emotions? And that, a lot of that is checking in with yourself and seeing how, like, I have some awful days sometimes. I just, I don't want to do anything. I think everyone has those, but I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. And allowing yourself to have that day of, like, well, today I'm not going to get anything done, and not beating yourself up to it, because there's tomorrow when you can, you can get stuff done. So,
well, that book, I summarized it one day in the box, and apologies everyone in advance for the language, but the name of the book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Right.
And if you haven't read it, it's a great read. But one thing he really points out is we have this false perception that we're supposed to feel great all the time.
Right.
That's not real.
Right.
Like, and once you understand that it's not going to feel great all the time, it's a little liberating, so that you can be more honest and just be like, okay, I'm feeling shitty today, and that's okay.
I'm very hard on myself, and as many people are, very hard on myself, but try to give myself a little, look, if I want to play some PlayStation, and what? Give yourself a little time to get away, whatever. I'm like, let me play a little PlayStation. Okay, I got that out. You're not going to be able to do everything you want to do all the time. So taking care of yourself, really, really self-care is a big thing. And I think a lot of us didn't realize that we really weren't taking care of ourselves. And then, sitting with, or our families too, the relationships between kids and their parents have gotten a lot stronger, or at least have changed how their perception of each other. So, homeschooling, people that have kids, God bless you, because that's, what you guys have learned what people have learned from that is like, give them all kinds of praise, but that's really tough. A lot of people went through a lot of tough things this year.
Well, I mean, one thing that got exposed for me, like when you're talking about were we really taking care of ourselves? Like, one of the reasons I built the box was because, I've been researching behavior as a strategist for years, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when I was talking to a lot of friends and family, they were kind of melting down, breaking down. And I realized that I had been interested in personal development and growth, and I'd taken a lot of programs and read a lot of books that a lot of people hadn't, and I had taken it for granted. But we've all been talking about mental health so much this past year, but I think what's been exposed is that we don't ever teach mental and emotional health. Like, we've got a lot of fully formed, successful adults who don't have basic skills about how do I cope with my thoughts and feelings? How do I process them? Like,
right. If you had a wound or an injury or you broke a bone, we have some place to go and work on that and heal the bone.
Sure.
People are always afraid of therapy, or afraid like, oh, I don't need that. I've had my therapist now for a year and a half, and I love my therapist because not only he gives me perspective about me, and he's a Black man, I can talk to him in a way that he gets it and he can send it back to me. Yeah. And it's so enriching, and it's really helped me get through the past year as well. So I totally recommend everyone going into therapy, or at least finding someone to talk to for. And also, what I like about therapy is that it's an hour that's all about me.
Yeah.
It's not about anything else but about me, that you can spew, you can say whatever you want. And a lot of times we just need to get it out to someone or something. And a lot of times if it's with a friend, you feel like the obligation of, now I have to listen to them, or now I have to, it's like, because I don't want to say too much, but,
yeah,
but I want, right.
There's guilt involved. You're like,
right.
I don't want this to be all about me. Whereas in therapy, it's like, no, I'm paying for this to be all about me.
It's all, exactly. It's all
Lust for Life says, let's normalize getting therapy. Jen says everyone needs one. I mean,
and Jen in pandemic wrote a book.
There you go.
She wrote a book. So people are doing incredible things, and using their time wisely. And even if you use your time foolishly, as long as you're using your time doing something to make yourself better or improve yourself, or, taking steps forward, that's because, as I said, life will knock you on your butt, because before you know it, someone may get sick in your family, your best friend may die. Tomorrow is not promised. So take advantage of all the things you have to do today. And it's so hard to get out of, just like with a crossword puzzle, not be in it like this, and to take a step back and go, okay, what am I doing right now? Oh, it's teacups. Okay. Oh, okay, and then you can go back in and have another perspective about it. But if you're so much in here and you don't look at the larger picture, which is life, you'll miss out on a whole bunch of stuff. So, it's been a heavy time, but you making it light. I always there was a friend of mine's grandmother could not afford food, and so she started eating cat food. And my friend went over to her house one time, and she was going to make dinner, and he said, Grandma, what time is dinner? And she said, meow. Making it light.
Keeping it light.
But I mean,
your timing is so great. Like, I could tell that joke and it wouldn't be as great. Like, you really had me. I was believing.
I know. That's the whole point. You got to set it up. You got to set your joke up. Just like on the magic, you got to set it up, and then, so you all can use that one. That's a good one. Meow. Nice, meow. Quick, clean. I have dirty jokes, but that's a nice, quick, clean, funny joke. So.
Yeah, you can tell that to anybody.
Exactly. But you got to set it up. You got to make sure it's, you present it in a way that is actually could, you know, because one thing about comedy or keeping things light is that if you bring it almost heavy, it gives you a contrast to when you're like, you know, because if I just said, oh, and my friend went to his line and did it, and if you kept on the same level, but if you really sell it,
Right,
and then you just drop the joke right in there.
Well, I think it was also strategic because you brought it up where it felt like a part of the conversation.
Right.
Like you couldn't just like walk in and be like, well, let me tell you about my friend and his grandma.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time because if anyone doesn't know, Chris is shooting Hollywood Stargirl.
Yes, indeed, for Disney
film.
Mm-hmm.
So
Uma Thurman, Judd Hirsch, Grace Vanderwall, some great people in it. So I'm really, it's been such a wonderful experience so far. Called Hollywood Stargirl. It's the sequel to Stargirl on Disney. So I'm excited about that. And we finished, and we just wrapped Upload, our second season of Upload, which who knows when it's going to come out. Probably, hopefully. They have so much special effects, but that's going to be really exciting too, coming out. So
I can't wait. I mean, I loved that. I especially loved watching it through quarantine. I thought it was like a very timely moment for that series to come out.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. It was. There's a lot of things about it that was like, oh, wait, they have masks on? They had masks on the subway. So I can do a magic trick for you if you want before I leave.
I mean, look, I could stay here for hours. So if you have time, yeah.
Yeah, so I have $2 bills, right? Okay. Right? What you want to do is you're going to take the dollar bills, and if you fold them just so, right? And you keep folding the $1 bills, and you squeeze them really tight, and next thing you know, you can just change it. The $2 bill, and then, you know, if you're really good, you can take it, because no one who has the $2 bills, you can't really spend $2 bills. You just change it back to the ones.
Where did you learn? Where did you learn how? It's amazing. It's amazing. Where did you learn how to do this?
I actually took classes for my 40th birthday. I took classes at the Magic Castle. I'd always done some magic, you know, some things, but I took classes up there, and then I was just hooked. It was, as I said, trying something new that you wouldn't normally do. And then I started studying and started really working on my prestidigitation, which is, you know, and really working on it. And then I became a member of the Magic Castle because you have to do a test. Magic Castle is the Academy of Magical Arts here in Los Angeles, is a place, it's a restaurant venue where you have to dress up. You have to be in a suit and tie. Women are in dresses, and it's very formal. And there's magic all over the castle, and it's strictly devoted to magic. And if you ever get a chance to come here to Los Angeles, we're opening up again. My sister says I always did magic as kids. I always told jokes too, corny jokes. And then so it's a wonderful place. So that's where I started doing my magic, and I became a member of the Magic Castle about 13 years ago. Yeah. 13 years ago. So it's really good. I really enjoy it. And now I'm also doing acting coaching too. That's another pivot that you have to do, since I did not have a, no one was working during the whole, as an actor, it's kind of hard not to be working on a set when everyone is home. And then when we came back to work, I coached before, but now I'm doing a lot more coaching, which is great. And a client of mine, Cynthia Carmona, is on a brand new Netflix show, and she had never done. She was a fabulous dramatic actress, and she didn't know about. She'd never done a sitcom before, so we worked together, and she got the role, and now I'm working with her on her series, and she's killing it on the show. So amazing. It's a lot of fun to pivot and use my 28 years in the business to pivot into something where I can help other people get work too. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm so proud of you. And when you
when we lost you for a minute before, I told everyone that you were giving one session away to a winner here.
Yes.
And so, reminder, we're going to choose one person. So if you want an acting session with Chris, just go into the comments and put me, just write me. And I'm going to, Lester says, can you coach me on how to act like I love my job? So what is, so that we can pick a winner, what is your favorite number 1 to 10, Chris, while I'm going back and looking at the comments? 1 to 10.
1 to 10?
Favorite number.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah. That's how we're going to choose the winner. 3. Okay, so I'm going back. So it's going to be the third person, 1, 2, which is Cakes Baby 11.
Cakes Baby 11. Nice.
Cakes Baby 11 is the third person. So Cakes Baby 11, we are going to reach out to you and we'll get that scheduled. Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And you guys have got to try the box. Please. I've tried it. I mean, I know it's, you know, but it's so rewarding and it helps so much, and it helped me a lot too. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, you've been so supportive as my friend. You've been so supportive of the box. If anyone could have a friend like Chris, I mean, you're an amazing person. You're so talented.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
God doesn't always give with both hands, but in your case, I mean,
that's very sweet of you. I appreciate that. Thanks. And congratulations to you, as I said, on the box as well. It's a big, you know, as I said, that's such a huge, monumental, to start a company during pandemic. Look, if you can start a thing during pandemic and I can do 10,005 miles, you know, a day, someone else out there, and Jen can write a book, someone else out there can do something wonderful, even if it takes a lot of work, and you'll get there eventually. Got to take a look at the bigger picture while you're in the middle of the puzzle.
Yes, that's the big takeaway from today.
Yes, indeed.
I got to buy a puzzle.
Yes.
I'm off to buy a puzzle.
I have like 6 or 7 I haven't even worked on, but I'll work on it.
Well, thank you again. And everyone, if you unfortunately didn't win, reach out to Chris if you're interested in working with him. You know, patiently wait for Upload to come out. And then Hollywood Stargirl, can't wait to see it. Do they have a release date for that yet?
Oh, no, we're still filming, so no, not yet.
All right.
But soon. Yeah, it'll be on Disney+.
All right.
So it's exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. I'll talk to you
too.
soon. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Bye.